I've got no messages or anything.
All right, it looks like we're going live now.
Oh man,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to
I'm
splice it.
I'm absolutely it's very confusing.
I've got no messages or anything.
All right, it looks like we're
I've
going
got no
live.
messages or anything. I've got no messages or anything. There it goes.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're gonna have to splice it.
All right, that's interesting. That's interesting. So you're at your unit and you're you're becoming what unit? What were you? Where did you go into Bliss? You were in the aviation unit, and y'all are doing
Yeah.
sports for PT. I'm trying to catch my mind back up. Welcome
Oh, yeah.
everybody. Apparently, we weren't streaming. We got some situations we got to get figured out with that. Oh my gosh, that's absolutely crazy. But we're here with Will. First, start Will D. Howell. Everybody, he hails from living in Kentucky right now, and was in the Army for many years. And we're just hanging out, having a good time. We watched his slideshow a while ago that we made for him, and we talked about what wonderful donors and stuff that we have with Marshall in the middle. Heroes I know at formerforce.com. We sure do appreciate it. And Will's going to tell us about becoming a sergeant. What was it like to becoming a leader? You remember those
Huh?
times?
Yeah, I remember. It was not an easy task. I mean, especially you got to take charge of the soldiers that you've been working with the whole time. Y'all been working together as specialists, and now all of a sudden one of you are in charge and telling the other people what to do. So yeah, I mean it was a difficult transition. It's not a flip the switch type transition, I can tell you that. So, but no, it was rewarding, and going to the board. Obviously, you had to go to the promotion board, and that was kind of stressful. But luckily, I was able to have good mentors and study partners that helped me through it. So I always excelled pretty well on the board. So I guess I had a good memory to remember everything. So yeah, no, but it was a good transition. I enjoyed it. So.
So did you stay in that aviation unit a long time? Did you stay in that same unit to make sergeant?
Yeah, I actually did. So I was at Fort Bliss for almost 2 years, and then we moved the whole unit to Fort Carson. So I was at Fort Carson for another almost 2 years. So I was in the unit for 4 years total. And yeah, so I made E5 right before I actually went to Germany. So yeah, same unit.
Oh, that's cool. That is awesome. So what? Tell me about your family. Tell me about your personal life through all this time. How old are you when you become a sergeant, and are you single? Are you married? What's going on in your world at that time?
Well, at that time, I mean, I was probably what 20, 26 or so. I came in the military late, so I came in at 24. I'd worked in the civilian world for a while before I actually joined the military. So I was a little bit older, but at that time I was in my first marriage and about to be divorced. Actually, we were having some issues. So yeah, at that time, before I went to Germany, I got divorced. Then went to Germany, was over there for almost 4 years, and was single through that time. But yeah, so yeah, about 26 years old is when I became an E5. So
Oh, that's interesting. So what? How old were you when you joined the army?
I was 24.
Oh wow! So it took you. What did you do before you joined the army? Between like high school and everything, I missed a whole section of your life. Tell me about that time.
Well, when I got out of high school, my dad actually worked for Amoco Production Company in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was a mechanic there, and so they had these summer internships, and I got a summer internship to work during the summertime um, with another section in the group there. But luckily, at the end of the summer, they went ahead and had a place open, so they hired me. I was actually hired through a temporary service, and I worked there for almost maybe 3 or 4 years through a temporary service. And so that's when I decided to join the military. So yeah. It was crazy.
So you went off to Germany. You're a sergeant,
Yeah.
single, going off to Germany. Tell me about those times.
Oh, it was fun, but the unit I was going to was an engineer unit. So when I knew I was going to Germany and what unit I was going to, I reached out to the S1 NCOIC, and he was like, "Well, telling me about all the stuff that they're doing. They're doing like 12-mile ruck marches, and for time and all these different things. And the PT average was like a 270, which is for an S1 section. That's really, really high. I mean, that's really high. I was not used to getting no 270. So, and I definitely wasn't used coming from an aviation unit to doing any kind of ruck marches ever. And so I immediately had emailed him back and said, "Hey, I'm just telling you right now, I'm bringing down all those averages."
We're going down.
Yeah, I said, "You don't look for me to be doing that well." So, but no, it was fun.
So you go to Germany. You got a new unit. How did that work? Did you bring your PT score up?
Yeah, actually, I ended up doing that. Yeah, I mean, because of we had some great, physically fit soldiers in there, which is, like I said, in an S1 section, that's not typical. So yeah, so I mean, we did PT, like good PT every day. We was running all the time, and running through the woods and doing all the stuff and all the ruck marching and all that stuff that the unit had us doing. So yeah, I ended up bringing it up. I mean, I'm not sure I was actually in the 270 range, but I know I was a lot better than I was when I left. So yeah, it was fun.
What was your favorite thing to do during that point in your life? What was your hobby, or what was spending your time?
I think just hanging out with people in the section, doing a little traveling around Germany. I mean, I didn't do a lot when I was there. I did do a couple of tours. I went to Paris. But yeah, just basically hanging out with the friends and doing stuff with the unit most of the time. It was just I was in Bamberg, Germany, so it was just a small post. Used to drive 45 minutes to to go to the big PX. Went up to Schweinfurt, which is like 40 minutes away, just to have Taco Bell, just those type of things. So it was fun.
Oh, that's great. That's great. What was your hardships over there? Do you remember? Was that during the time? What year was that? Was that during the time of ration cards and all that stuff?
Yeah, actually, we did have ration cards. That was I was actually there in Germany when 9/11 happened. So we were actually we were actually out in the field when the situation came down, and so that was a crazy part. But we had to rush back and start guarding all the gates and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, just being away from first time I'd been over, well, actually the second time I'd been overseas, but that was a pretty difficult time. But I mean, just being away and being that far from home, I mean, I guess that was a hardship, but it was fun.
Yeah, I bet. So tell me the path to staff sergeant and your next duty assignments and your schools and stuff. Tell me about PLDC and BNOC and all that. Was that stuff tough? Tell me about those times.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was tough. I mean, it was different. I mean, but yeah, going to BNOC and PLDC. Well, PLDC first and BNOC. But yeah, I mean, it was different, but it was fun. I mean, got to meet different people and learn a little bit. I mean, the biggest thing you find out is what you're doing has nothing really doing with what you're doing in your job. I mean, it's basically, you know, um, everything you learn there, you don't do in your job the way it says you're supposed to do it. But I mean,
All right.
but no, it was a good time. I love going to school and I love being in the class, meeting new people and just learning different things. So
Yeah, you get
yeah,
back from class and they're like, "Remember all that stuff you learned? Yeah, forget it. Here's the new way. Here's our
exactly.
new
Yep.
SOPs."
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. You said you went to Iraq a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I mean, the first time I went, so I was stationed at Fort Hood. I was there for 6.5 years. So the first time we went to, actually it was really crazy because, um, we actually went to Bakuba. Well, not Bakuba, but we went to the Green Zone first. So the first time I deployed, I was in, first CAD division, what we were in, I was in third HBCT. And so we were responsible for guarding all the gates around the Green Zone. So it was really crazy because right there in the Green Zone, we were on a little fob, and it was crazy because it was almost like being a garrison, really. I mean, we would get up, do PT in the morning, we do our job during the day, then come back upstairs at nighttime. And I'm like, man, this is what deployment's all about? This can't be what deployment's all about. It was just like being back in garrison, except we were deployed. It was crazy. And so I'm like, no, this is weird. And so, we get back, and then we go back about a year and a half later. And now we went up to, we were actually up in Bakuba. So I remember, we flew up, got over there. We flew up to the little base we were going to be on in Bakuba, and get off the helicopter, and it's dark. I mean, it's like pitch dark. And I'm like, oh my God, where are we? And they're like, yeah, we're so far up north, we can't have any lights. Couldn't have lights on because, the enemy would know we were there or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this is totally different from the first deployment. I mean, now I know what combat is. This was combat zone.
Amen. Amen.
So yeah, it was a total shock the second time. So
did you find yourself, afraid for your life or cowering in fear or helping someone who was injured or in pain or do you find yourself in any kind of a moment when you were in the military?
Well, I mean, when we were up in Bakuba, a couple times we had artillery come in and hit the PX once, and hit our office one time. But yeah, I was never actually, getting shot at by anyone or had to perform first aid to anybody. But we had some close calls a couple times. So we were always getting indirect fire coming. But nobody really ever got hurt from it. So we got lucky, I guess, probably most of the time. But yeah, it was a way, like I said, you were scared when we were there that time. So, and then that was right before the surge happened. If you remember when the surge came in. So it was really difficult for us in the S1 because we were getting we were getting casualties and people killed like all the time. I mean, it seemed like every holiday, some major tragedy was happening. And then when the surge came in, we got a lot of striker units came in to help us out. And, unfortunately for them, they're the ones that were doing the patrolling more than actually our unit was. And so they were the ones taking the casualties a lot more than we were. But yeah, it was really a difficult time during that period. At the end of the time, we had lost 110 people. So, and probably 500 or 600 casualties. So yeah, it was rough that second deployment.
Wow.
Yeah.
So look, all right. So here's the question for all S1 NCOICs. Okay, what's your biggest headache? Is it NCOERs, leave forms, or awards?
I would say probably awards.
Awards are your biggest headache?
Yeah, probably so, because you always get them at the last second, and there's always 100 of them, or hey, my award is late, or hey, this guy's PCSing tomorrow. Where's his award at? But yeah, I mean, it's all a headache, but I think awards may be the biggest one.
So we all, as we come up, we have mentors, whether we're young or old. Tell me about some of your mentors.
Well, I mean, I had a good couple of sergeant majors that were good mentors to me. My first, like I said, my first S1 NCOIC, well, not my first, but my second one in Germany. The one I had in Germany, he was really great. I mean, I still friends with him today. I mean, he really gave me a lot of pointers and mentorship coming up. but yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people that I can talk to and help me through a lot of great hard times. So, but yeah, so yeah, I've had a few people that's helped me through. So
So tell me about being at Fort Hood and stationed at Fort Hood for 6.5 years. That place is like it's a hidden it's a hidden armpit in a way.
well, yeah, I mean, they call it the great place, but yeah, at that time it really wasn't great. I mean, it was good. I mean, I liked the unit. I mean, before we started deploying, I mean, it wasn't that tough. I mean, um, but it just seemed like at that time is like every time they got new train, like they got a new piece of equipment or something new came, they'd always stabilize you. Oh, new equipment stabilization, and it'd be like everybody in the unit. Now you're not PCSing. And then especially when we started deploying, now everybody can't PCS. So I'm telling you, man, that second deployment, when we started, before we even started coming back, they were already talking about deploying again in the next year. And I was like, oh, heck no, I'm not doing this again. I got to find a way out of here. So that's when I finally got out of, I finally talked to a sergeant major that I knew at Fort Jackson. And finally I was able to get out of Fort Hood.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't going back again. I wasn't deploying again for that third time, especially that close. I was like, man, y'all are crazy.
So what rank were you at that time?
I was in E7 at that time when I left Fort Hood. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you go to Fort Jackson and you start working there. That's a great place to be. That's a training, like a whole training post. That's all it is, right?
Yeah. I actually went. I started working. I went to work for the Adjutant General School. I was working in the proponent. So the human resources proponent. So I was responsible for all the structure and professional development for the 42 Alphas and 42 Limas and 42 Foxes. So yeah, it was I mean, I love being at the schoolhouse, and I learned a heck of a lot there. As far as, the other side of the HR world, about all the slots we have everywhere and where people work and just the professional development. So yeah, it was a great place. I love being there. So.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So after being at the schoolhouse there, tell me, starting first class, and tell me what happened next.
Well, that's where I actually made first sergeant. I mean, I made master sergeant at the schoolhouse. And so a little while after I made master sergeant, I actually got a first sergeant position on Fort Jackson at the 173rd Training Brigade, which was responsible for, like all the ranges and stuff on post. They had the 42 Alpha basic training, or the reception school was under them. The ordnance school was under them, for BNOC or whatever. So that's where I became a first sergeant at. I was a first sergeant there for about 11 months. And then that's when I got a first sergeant position over in the Netherlands. So yeah, it was a great place. I love being there.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Oh my gosh. That is great. So at some point along here, I'm reminded that there's a family that's built up around you and come along. Tell me about that process.
That was while I was at Fort Hood. When I first got to Fort Hood, actually, I mean, yeah, we kind of missed over that, but when I first got to Fort Hood, well, not when so I met my wife that I am with now. I met her. She was in the Army. She was a recruiter in Kansas City, Missouri. And so I had met her actually online, which is kind of a crazy story, but met each other online. And once she was a recruiter for the next 18 months. So we were separated for about 18 months before we actually met up or moved in together. So it's crazy because 2 weeks before I actually deployed, she actually got stationed at Fort Hood. Two weeks before I deployed. Yeah. So, and then she ended up getting out of the Army about 10 months later because she was working for 3 Corps at Fort Hood, which they were going to deploy. and she had been a recruiter, and she had a 5-year-old son at the time, and she'd already been away from him for so long. So, it wasn't going to suit us for me to be deployed and her to be deployed at the same time. So she actually got out, and so that was the situation there. So yeah.
Amen. Well, good, good. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you get deployed and you go off and y'all, let's see, you went off to the Netherlands is the next place you guys went to. Was
Yeah, being
there
stationed. Yeah.
was there any hard schools or anything you went to in the Army that challenged you? Did you choose to go to Ranger School or Airborne School or Air Assault School? Did you get an opportunity to do any of that stuff?
No, I never really wanted to do that. I guess I might have got lucky because I never got pegged for drill sergeant. I never got pegged for recruiter. I never did any of that stuff. But the most challenging school I went to was the Equal Opportunity Advisor course. That was 11 weeks, and that was like, man, that was like the best school. I think the best school that I ever went to in the military. So that was probably the most challenging and the best one I went to. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that course. Was that down at Daytona Beach at the time, or wherever it was down
Well,
there at the
Cocoa Beach, Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, Cocoa. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's
Still
still
there.
there or not.
It is.
Is it? That's cool.
Yep. Still
That's
there. It's awesome. Awesome. Patrick Air Force Base.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I went to the Equal Opportunity Representative course, and it's
Okay.
much shorter, and I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved it. It was a great course. I learned a lot about myself and human nature and the way other people thought. Because if you're not exposed to that if you're not exposed to that in the proper way, then you'll never get exposed to it.
Oh, you're right about that. Yeah.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done right. And I had a group of instructors that did a good job, yeah, that my Equal Opportunity Representative course was a really, really good course. Really good.
Well, and that's one of the things I loved about being an Equal Opportunity Advisor was teaching that course.
Right.
I mean, I love opening people's eyes and making them think a different way and seeing, hey, maybe their way of thinking is not always the best way of thinking,
Yeah.
And you do meet a lot of people that don't get exposed to that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I walk into the door. I'm a white guy from Alabama. Okay, so and so you begin, like, one of the first things that we did, and I know this is your interview, but one of the first things that we did was we made a board that we had to we had to make an icon of ourselves on poster board, right?
Mm-hmm, your badge. It's called your badge.
Yeah, a little badge
Yep.
or something. And it was just such a mentally stimulating situation. We played the Star Power game.
Yeah.
Wow, that is eye-opening. All of a sudden, you realize you've got a little bit of power, and
Oh,
what
yeah.
do you do with it? What do you do? Do you let others in? Do you share your power, or do you find others that have the same power and you make your own little group? I'm
Yeah.
telling you, dude, it's really wild. It's really
We
wild.
we still use those today.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, it's a great, cool, great course that I wish that everybody could get exposed to. I live in a time and a place where I just think that harmony amongst all of us, we've got to get to a place somehow where we can look at our neighbor and love them instead of look at our neighbor and go, nah, nah, nah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it should be a mandatory course.
Yeah. So tell me about, your struggles as a sergeant and as a first sergeant. Do you had any tough times? Do you have any things that, what was your hardest day? Do you remember a hardest day?
I mean, I think as far as like I said, being, becoming an E5, just learning how to, be in charge of people, and especially, like I said, with people that you'd already been working with and your buddies with, and now all of a sudden, you're telling them what to do, and they're like, hey, dude, what do you mean? That was difficult, but once I got through that transition, I mean, I was okay after that. I mean, becoming a first sergeant now, it's the same type of thing. Basically, now you're in front of a whole company of soldiers that are looking to you to do the right thing and to be the example, and just getting up there and running formation, and all those things are difficult until you've been through it a couple times and figure your way out. Running a duty roster and hey, we got funeral detail and all these details, and trying to tell people, hey, it's your turn to go do it, even though you just did this thing last week or whatever. Last minute changes to things. Yeah, I mean, there's been difficult times, but luckily I always had that support system. My family and friends that supported me through everything, and I've always had people to talk to and help me through it and give me advice. So, I think that the biggest difficulties I had was, like I said before, that second deployment. That was really rough. But other than that, I mean, once you get through that type of situation, I mean, I think everything else is kind of pales in comparison to going through that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've always had good people around me.
So tell me about your follow-on. Tell me about those that are coming behind you. Tell me about your legacy. Tell me about those that love you and pray for you at night and look to you for mentorship.
Well, I mean, I can tell you, it's people always, the way I went through my career, everybody these days is all about, hey, when am I getting promoted? When am I getting promoted? This type of thing. I mean, I really never looked at it that way. Yes, I wanted to be promoted, but my main goal has always been to take care of my soldiers and my unit. And, when I came in the military, I'd never even imagined I'd be in 26 years. There was just no way. I could not fathom being in that long. And I mean, even making first sergeant or master sergeant, that was never in my realm. I mean, I never even thought I'd make that. I was happy when I made E7. I mean, that I was like, man, I made E7. I made sergeant first class. But I always look at what I've done is I've always looked at, I go back and now I keep track of the soldiers that I took care of that were my soldiers. And if they're doing well, then I know that I had a part in that. Some small part helped them grow. So every time I see one of them get promoted or get selected for this, that just brings great joy to my heart, because I just know deep down that I had some little part in helping them grow to get there. So,
Amen.
yeah, I retired as a first sergeant, but, I had a lot of people helping me. It wasn't just me. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So what do you get up and do every day now? Are you working at one of our Army military installations?
Well, that's crazy. It's crazy you asked that, because, when I got out of the military, when I retired, I put some applications in at HRC, the Human Resources Command here on post. But I actually had got a job I was at a job with the Census Bureau for 1 month. And as soon as I got that job, I actually got the call for an interview for a job that I had at HRC that I had applied for. And they actually got the 120-day waiver. So I actually started at HRC while I was still on transition leave. So I worked there for 9 months, and then I actually had got a promotion. I had applied for another job and I got promotion at HRC. So I moved up to a higher position. So I started as a GS7, and then I went to a GS9, and I was there for about 4 months. And a friend of mine that had retired before I did, she was a sergeant major. She was an equal opportunity advisor, sergeant major. She had turned me on to a job that she had gotten because she got promoted. So now I actually work, I quit working for HRC. So now I actually work for a contract. I'm a contractor for Consolidated Nuclear Services down in Knoxville, Tennessee. Well, I site in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I'm the diversity inclusion specialist for Consolidated Nuclear Services. So now I'm the D&I specialist for two sites. So Pantex out in Amarillo, Texas, and then the one in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So yeah, so that was a huge promotion for me, and it's something that I've always wanted to do because it's still in that equal opportunity realm, making sure people are getting treated fairly and those type of things. So yeah, I've been lucky.
Oh, that's awesome. Right. Yay, yay. And you got two facilities, so you get to travel a little bit. And I'm sure you got a little bit of discretion in that. So that's cool.
Yeah, I will once the COVID stuff dies down. I haven't been out there yet, but as soon as we're able to travel again, yeah, I'll be able to get out there and do some training and meet some people out there. So yeah, it's great position. I love it.
So Joe and I started doing this a while back, and the idea behind it was to get some stories told, for our grandkids. And because I don't have anything of my grandfather on video, and definitely don't have his stories. And so that's what this is all about, and I hope this has been a time that you've enjoyed and that you think you maybe have told some stories for those that come behind you. Tell me about what you might want to say to your grandkids or those that might be old enough and come behind that might want to be interested in what their father or grandfather or uncle or cousin might want to say.
Well, I mean, I would just tell them, don't be afraid to pursue what you want to do, whether, whatever dreams it is, whatever aspirations you have. I mean, the military is not that, people think of the military as being a bad thing to do. No, we don't want to do it but my, like I said, I mean, yes, you do sometimes have to go actually defend your country, but that's pride, and you take pride in doing that, even though it is dangerous. But, for the most part, the military has done me well. So I've met a lot of people. I've done a lot of great things. I've been around the world. If I hadn't joined the Army, I would not be in the position I am today. I mean, I really wouldn't. Who knows where I would be, what I would be doing, but it definitely probably wouldn't be what I'm doing now. And so it's just taking those chances. I mean, like I said, I've still got family in Oklahoma that's never left Oklahoma. And you just can't, I mean, you got to get out and enjoy and do things and see different things. I mean, different parts of the world, different whatever. I mean, so I would just tell you, do whatever you got to do and make the most of your life. I mean,
amen. Yeah. Amen. One of the things that I would love to do before we get out of here is to get you to call your unit to attention and salute and like sign out, like First Sergeant, Howell signing out or something like that. So put that in your head and think about it before we get down the road. They say that especially in the military that it's hard to find atheists in foxholes, and we all tend to have dark nights that we look forward to something, a light at the end of the tunnel. Did you have or do you have some spiritual beacon that you cling to in your darker times?
I mean, I've always believed in God. I mean, I'm not one to go to church every Sunday or whatever the case is, but I'm still a religious person. I mean, I've always looked to that, to the Savior to help me through some difficult times. I mean, and then, like I said, the people around me. So yeah, I mean, I always think of that stuff and pray when I need to pray and those type of things. So yeah.
Amen. Amen. Right.
Yeah.
We all tend to find that attitude of prayer at certain times. It just washes over us. It's Lord help me.
Definitely.
Lord help me.
help me.
Yeah. Yeah. So like a lot of veterans have icons and patches and things. Like with me, it's the 82nd patch, right? What military icons do you have that you cling to that you really like?
I mean, I think it's just my yeah, my adjutant general, motto, badge, whatever, because that's what, I put my life and soul in the adjutant general corps. So, yeah, I mean, I'm always going to have, have fondness for them and whatever they're doing. So, yeah, same thing.
That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome. Any stories before we close this out and say goodnight? Is there anything I haven't asked you about, or that you might want to talk
Well,
about? Or
if you want me to circle back around to the story from my basic training, yeah. So this is going to be a good one here. So when I was in basic training, you remember I told you about going across the cattle car, right? In the cattle car across the tracks. Well, that's our major. I'm not going to give any names, but that's our major was a hardcore sergeant major. So he was one of them that actually ended up being in my basic training. He was one of them. And so there was one day that we were like in phase 3 or whatever, one of our soldiers had gotten this care package and it had a Walkman in it. And the soldier was playing the Walkman up on the floor and eating cookies. Well, the sergeant major, the drill sergeant major at the time, caught the guy doing it. So he threw his Walkman across the room, busted it, put us all back in phase 1, rolled our flag up and made us, we couldn't do anything. We were on restriction and all this stuff. All right. So when I got out of basic training, I said to myself, oh my God, I hope I do not see this person again. Right. There's no way I'm ever going to see this guy again. Right. So lo and behold, I'm at Fort Hood. I've been doing the S1 NCOIC down at the battalion. So I actually got moved up to be the brigade's S1 NCOIC. First day, I'm up getting a tour. I'm meeting the new command sergeant major of the brigade. I go into his office and I'm walking through the office and here comes this sergeant major walking out. I looked at him and he looked at me. And then I went into the brigade sergeant major's office. I talked to him for about 10 minutes or whatever. I came back out. The sergeant major that I had seen going in, guess who he was?
the new guy?
He was the guy from basic training.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And then he was like, hey, Master Howell, you know me, right? And I'm like, or he's like, we know each other, right? And I'm like, yes, Sergeant Major, I know who you are. I mean, it all came rushing back, man. I'm telling you. And he ended up he was the BSB Sergeant Major, which actually at that time, the way the unit was, I actually had to report to him because my unit was under his unit and the brigade sergeant major. So yeah, that was the craziest thing in the world. I was like, I'm never going to see this guy again. And there he was.
There he was. Oh my gosh. Infantry and everything, right?
Yep.
Oh,
It was crazy.
Gosh. Well, First Sergeant, thanks so much for spending some time with us tonight. I really appreciate it. If you could just call your unit to attention and give us a good salute and sign out, man, that would be awesome.
All right, let's do this. Company, attention. First Sergeant Howell signing out.
Oh my gosh, yay. That was the best, right? That was the best, Joe. Oh, I love it. Okay, First Sergeant, thank you so much. We will catch you on the flip side, man. Thanks.
All right, thanks everyone. Thank you for having me.
Will.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Thanks, Will.